When I grew up, people maintained their tools, and fitting a new axe handle would have been the sort of job you learnt at Grandad's knee. Well, today's video is not only going to show you how to do it, but it's going to show you all the tips and tricks that I know that let you do it really well. Hello, welcome to English Country Life and welcome to the workshop. Today's video is in a series on how to restore a vintage axe. In the first video we talked about how to select an axe for restoration and clean up any damage that it might have. In the second, we looked at de-rusting techniques and how to get it back to clean steel. In the third, we looked at what profile an axe should be ground to. In the fourth, we covered how to sharpen the axe correctly to that profile. In the fifth, we talked about how to protect the axe from rusting. Today, we're going to put a handle on it. These are the materials we're going to need today to fit a new handle to our axe head. I will use the term handle and helve, which is the correct term, interchangeably. Let's not be snobby about it. This is our restored sharpened axe head. This is a new commercial handle. I promise to keep it simple in this video, so we're going to buy in an axe handle, but I will talk to you about how to select the best axe handle for your job in terms of making sure it'll fit, that it's a decent quality, and preparing it. I'm going to introduce you to this tool today. This is a wood rasp, specifically designed for wood, but almost like a file with very large and aggressive teeth. It's extremely good for fine shaping the axe handle to fit your head. Going to need a soft hammer, either a rubber or wooden mallet, in order to tap the head onto the helve. We don't want to use a metal one. We covered in restoration that pounding on a metal axe head with a metal hammer is a very bad idea. We're going to need a wooden wedge. Optionally, we can include a metal wedge. We're going to need a saw, and we're going to need some soft material to rest the handle and the head on as we tap them into place to avoid damage. Before we start the process, let me talk you through how to select a good quality axe handle that will fit your axe head and that will give years of service. Let's talk about buying a replacement handle. If anyone's interested in making them, I do that too, and I'm very happy to show you the process. But for today, let's talk about buying one. First thing is, what length do you want? Pretty much you can consider there are three standard lengths. For a small hand axe in the sort of 1 to 1.5 pound range like this, you're looking at something in the sort of 12 to 14, even occasionally as much as 16 inches. For a larger limbing axe in the sort of 2 pound-ish head range, normally you're looking at about 24 inches. And for a full size felling or splitting axe, you're probably looking at something around 36 inches. That's not the only thing you need to worry about though. To get a good fit, you need to measure both the length and the width of the eye of your axe and ensure that the one you're buying is at least as long and as wide as you need. You will often be able to get these things on the internet. There are good suppliers. If you can find a good local hardware shop that supplies replacement helves, go there. Because one of the things you want to look for is that the grain in your helve is running roughly vertically along its length. If it runs sideways or even at a very steep diagonal angle, it is much more likely that the helve will break at some point. So you want the grain running. You can see there's a slight curve on this one, but it's not bad. And if you look at the back, you can see long lines of grain running roughly vertically. So this is a good one. Next thing to do, take a bit of fine sandpaper, look for any little rough areas like that, and give your axe handle a good rub down. Make sure it's smooth, don't be trying to run your hands over it, and there should be nowhere where you're going to get blisters or splinters. You should never varnish axe handles, they should be oil finished. So if you get an axe with a varnished handle, get a bit of paint stripper and some sandpaper, get rid of that varnish, and we'll show you in a bit how to do an oil finish. When fitted properly, our axe head should sit down on this shoulder, like that. And as you can see, this handle, being a commercial one, has slightly too much material at the top. There's no point shaping that, getting it to pass through the eye. So we'll just take off 3/4 of an inch at the top of this handle in order to make it fit properly down on the shoulder. What I'm doing here is marking a little way above where I believe the axe head needs to sit, and you'll see why as we fit the handle that it's good to have some material proud sitting above the axe head. Having got the shoulder of the helve to the right length, if we offer it up to the eye, we can see that it's slightly too thick here. So now we're going to deploy the wood rasp, and almost like a file we're going to remove some material from both sides of the helve to get that to fit. Go slow at this stage. You can just stroke off material with a wood rasp. It's a lot more user friendly in inexperienced hands. You can do this with a knife, you can do it with a plane, you can do it in many ways, but I like a wood rasp. I like it for a variety of reasons, one of which is once you have the wood roughened up, when you put it back into the eye, it will smooth out on areas of contact, and you can see where you have to remove more material to get a good fit. Eventually the rasp will remove enough material from the top of the helve that the helve will fit into the eye. And as you can see, I've only done the first sort of 3/8 of an inch. And what we then have to do is lightly fit the helve in, get it straight, get it where we want it to sit, and give it a couple of taps on the base of the helve. Notice that it's sat on soft material with a rubber mallet or a wooden mallet. And as you can see, that's now firm but not driven on. And we can just tap it off. Can you see that dark spot there? And another one here. See this dark material here? What that's saying is what's stopping the axe going further into the eye is this area where that roughness has been compacted by contact with the eye. So what we now do, go back to our rasp, file off any of those darkened areas and try the fit again. And it's just a process of continually tapping it in, removing a bit of material, finding where the high spots are that are sticking, rasping them off and keeping going. After a lot of rasping and checking and rasping and checking again, your axe head should fit tightly onto your new helve. There's one thing you really need to check as you're doing this. Your axe bit must line up with the centre of the axe helve all the way down. Mustn't be off to the left or off to the right or at an angle. It's got to be straight. Now that may sound obvious and it may sound easy. Let me show you something. don't know how easily you can see how off true that rasped area is, but that's because over the 100+ years of its life, this eye has been pounded out of alignment with the bit. If you look carefully, you can actually see, if I line that bit up, there's a slight twist to it and the eye isn't fully aligned. It's not a big problem, because by carefully adjusting the way we fit the head to the helve, we can compensate. The next thing we have to do is wedge this head in place. So what I like to do is draw a pencil line straight down the middle in line with the bit. And we'll put a saw cut in that now. I like to get my saw cut for wedging 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way down to where the base of the head will be, not quite to the bottom. And you want it, as you can see, to be completely straight, both at the front and at the back. Next, we need to talk about wooden wedges. As all good workshops, I have an old tobacco tin with some wooden wedges cut ready, but everything needs to be stored in tobacco tins because that's how my granddad did it and that's how I'm doing it. That said, where do you get them from? Well, they've got to be seasoned wood. If you use green wood, as it dries out, it will shrink. And when it shrinks, your axe head will come loose. One great source for me of wedges is old, broken tool handles. And what I can do very easily is cut the end into a nice sharp wedge and then saw that off to make, I'll probably get 2 at least wedges out of the end of that, and then I can cut another angle and so on and so on. With a good big sledgehammer handle, you can probably get a dozen or more wedges out. If you get a nice bit of seasoned oak in your firewood, take an hour on a rainy winter's day, knock yourself a few up, these are oak, and you'll be good for the next few years. But I quite like the idea of reusing old tool handles, because you know then that has been around for a very long time. So I'm going to cut this off at the right length to match the cut and cut it to the right size to fit into the eye of the axe. That wedge is going nowhere, and the head solid as a rock. Some people, when they put a wooden wedge in, like to put a metal wedge in just to make sure that that wooden wedge can't back out. I don't often bother because I'm confident in my wooden wedges, but I'm going to show the technique in this video just in case anyone would like to do that. We need to break into another tobacco tin, of course. In this tobacco tin, I have something that is like little treasures to me. Years ago, I came across a really good hardware store in Cheshire that had every size and type of metal wedge. And they had size 5 for big mauls, size 3 for felling axes, a small size 2 do for a limbing axe or a large hatchet, and these little stepped tiny ones, which is all we'll need today, for small hand axes. Often, if you're lucky, a good seller will sell you the right size wedge with your handle. You can even get these. These are called hammer rings or hammer wedges, and again come in different sizes, in theory for attaching around hammer handles, but in practice they also work well on axes. Often, when you put in a metal wedge, you can find yourself splitting the wood because you're often driving it across the grain, whereas the wooden wedge goes with the grain. So I like to make a little hole to start it with a chisel that's the same width as the wedge itself. Once you've made your chisel hole, you can just pop your wedge in and drive it home. I often will knock it in with a drift punch just to avoid marking the wood. There we are. You've got a nice metal wedge across the wooden wedge. It can't possibly back out. Final job. Put several coats of linseed oil with a rag, wearing gloves because boiled linseed oil is nasty stuff. Several coats on. How do you know how much time to leave? Well, when it's soaked up all the oil, put another coat on. Then every couple of months for the first year of its life, give it one more coat, and then once a year for the rest of its life. That's our Kent pattern axe. So the damage removed, the damaged helve removed. It's been derusted, profiled, sharpened, rust protected, hung on a new helve, and it's ready for another 100 years of service. If you've enjoyed that, could you give us a thumbs up down below? And leave us a comment. We must be ready for another big project. What do you fancy? Another kind of food preserving? Canning? Spade preparing? About soap making? You tell us and we'll do it. If you want to see all our content, please click the subscribe icon down there and the bell next to it, and you'll hear every time we upload a video. But you know what? Whatever you do, come back and see us soon. Take care.